Good morning. I'd like to call the April 14th, 2021 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to order. Would you all join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. May I have a roll call, please?
Vice Chair Jacks,
Here.
Commissioner Barlow,
Here.
Commissioner Kelly, Commissioner Hassett,
Here.
Commissioner Meal, Commissioner Martin, Commissioner Abbott,
Here.
Commissioner Alexander,
Here.
Commissioner Morse,
Here.
Commissioner Gillette.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. May we please have the automated message? The items with a recommendation made by the Commission will be heard by the Board of Supervisors on Monday, May 3rd, 2021 at 9:30 a.m. in the same location, with exception of any continued items. May I have a motion for the meeting minutes?
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 1, Mr. White, please.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Item number 1 is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of assessor's parcel number 402-43093 from an RE 10A residential recreation 10-acre minimum lot size zone to to an RE5A residential recreation with a 5-acre minimum lot size zone to bring the property into compliance in the scenic vicinity. Staff recommends approval with standard conditions.
Thank you. We'll open the public hearing. Is there anybody that would, from the audience, I have no slips. Anybody like to address this issue? Seeing none. Do any of the commissioners have any comments? No comments. We'll close the public meeting. Any motions, please?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the rezone of 402-43093 with standard
Conditions.
conditions.
Standard conditions.
Second.
We have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 2, Mr. White.
Item number 2 is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of assessor's parcel number 402-66098 from an RE10A residential recreation with a 10-acre minimum lot size zone to an RE5A residential recreation with a 5-acre minimum lot size zone to bring the property into compliance in the Littlefield vicinity. Staff recommends approval with standard conditions.
Thank you. We'll open the public hearing. I don't have anybody signed up on it, but if there's anybody in the audience that would like to comment. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Commissioner comments?
I'll make a motion to approve for staff recommendation.
Second. We have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Barron has joined the conference.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Schroep has joined the conference.
Oh, okay. Item number 3, Mr. Gunderson.
Item number 3 is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of assessor's parcel number 405-36008 from an A general zone to an AR agricultural residential zone to bring the property into compliance and to allow for a minor land division in the Fredonia vicinity. The applicant is seeking to create 2 properties with this rezone. Staff has received 1 letter of concern for this item. Staff recommends approval with standard conditions.
Thank you. We'll open the public hearing. I have no slips, but if there's anybody in the audience, sir, would you come forward and state your name and address, please?
Yes, sir. My name is Dwayne Weissman.
At the mic, please.
I'll try not to blow it out. My name is Dwayne Beisline. I'm a neighboring property owner, and I apologize for not being aware of the information you guys have received, but there was 1 letter of, what did you call it, letter of objection or letter of concern, and it addresses right-of-way. I'd just like to state we have no objection to a normal 30-foot right-of-way for easement across this property that we're seeking to have rezoned. I don't see the person in the room who filed the letter of concern. However, we've had no objection ever to them having access to it. His concern was access to his property, which is across ours. And I just wanted to ensure that it's just a standard 30-foot easement that we're talking about. That's really the only question I had.
Mr. Gunderson, can you address that?
I am not sure the size of the existing easement, but the rezone would not change any existing easements on the property. Those easements would remain in effect.
Thank you.
Very well. With that being said, I am wholly in favor of the rezoning to occur.
Thank you. I did have another slip. Virginia? Yes.
I'm just in favor of what he said.
Okay. That was easy. Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Any commissioner comments? May I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve for staff recommendation.
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4, Mr. Gunderson again.
Item number 4 is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of assessor's parcel number 229-18022A from a C2 general commercial zone to an R1 single-family residential zone to allow for residential land use and a home occupation in the Fort Mojave vicinity. The applicant is looking to do online gun sales from the residents that is on the property. We've received one letter of opposition for this item. Staff recommends approval with standard conditions.
Thank you. We'll open the public hearing. Is there anybody that would like to speak on this item?
I have a question for staff.
Hang on a second, we'll get there.
I'd like to know what your line of reasoning is for doing this when it's in the middle of a commercial area.
Chairman, Commissioner Meal, the biggest things that we looked at were there's across the street, there's residentially zoned properties, which would be the rear of the structure that's on the property, and the general plan has it listed as a residential land use. And so because the rezone would comply with the general plan and there's other residential properties in the area, staff recommends approval.
Okay, and this is that the immediate subject area had a major fire here 2, 3, 4 years ago, and there's still a concrete wall being held up by the 2-bys, and you guys have commercial in that immediate area, and they want to make this into a convalescent type of residence. And do people think it's safe to do this?
Commissioner Meal, as I said, because there's residential just across the street, we determined that putting a residential on the other side of the street wouldn't be any more of a safety concern than having it across the street.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, please.
To help answer that question as well, the house or the property is currently being used as a residential, single-family residential dwelling. Our C2 zone allows for single-family residential uses. The current property owner is using the property as a single-family residence and is looking to do a home occupation from his house. That wouldn't be allowed in the C2 zone, so that's why he's having to rezone it to a residential zone to allow for a home occ. If he wanted to just run a business from a C2 zone, he would have to improve it to commercial standards.
Thank you. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak on this? Seeing no hands, I'll close the public hearing. Now, may I have some comments from the commission?
So just to summarize this, the blue warehouse right behind Young Scholars, they're already occupying it as their residence, correct? I mean, so they want to run a business. They don't want to jump through all the hoops to have a commercial license, so they're trying to rezone it because it's a lot less restrictions when you have a work from home. So he's got a man cave, a place to live, and a place to make some money, basically. Okay. I mean, and just across the street, which is not a heavy use street, that's where all the other residential is anyways.
Commissioner, that is correct.
Okay. How long, just out of curiosity, how long has he been occupying it as residential use? Did he state that?
I don't
know. Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hassett, that's something that we would have to do more research on. I know it's been in the past 2 years that he's been occupying it as a residence. And I think the applicant is on the line if he could answer that as well.
I got the variance in 2015.
When was the structure built?
2015.
I'm sorry, I didn't copy that.
Hang on, let me get off. Let me get off of code. I've had the variance since 2015 when I built the building.
So the building was built in 2015?
Correct.
Okay.
And you've been occupying it as your residence since then?
Correct.
I mean, we're basically just changing what he's already doing, so I don't really see the issue with that.
The only problem, if I may, the only problem I would have with that is that we're located between two commercial properties, one of them being the Young Scholars School, which has a heavy commercial use, and a crane operator's yard, which is next door, which, and the remaining of the zoning down Lynn is all commercial on that side of the street. On the other side, it's residential, mostly multifamily. It just could pose a problem down the line if you were to sell this property and somebody else move in, and all of a sudden we got neighbors going, or residents going, well, I got these commercial everywhere, and they're making too much noise, especially at school.
Yeah.
I live about a quarter mile from there, and I hear the school all the time.
Right.
So.
This question's for the applicant. What are you trying to do from as your home occupation?
Well, my main plan is I intend to build a house on the property. And then as far as home occupation, I'm planning on doing at-home gun sales.
Gun sales?
Gun sales with a storefront, public walk-in, or?
No, it's at home. There will be nothing really public. It will be online.
What was the first part? I didn't hear the first part of what you're attempting to do.
There's no storefront. It will be online sales.
I think he's saying no storefront.
Right, but there was something before you said gun sales. So your whole intent for rezoning is so that are you manufacturing firearms and selling them online?
No.
He must be just reselling.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm reselling. And then I intend to build a home on the adjacent land that I have around the building.
On the same parcel, but the empty dirt that's next to it?
Yes, correct.
Where the cranes are currently parked.
No.
Is that correct?
No, the cranes are a separate property.
He's talking about
That's the
right
next parcel.
South
In the vacant space to the south of the building.
right there.
Yes, the vacant space.
So, and you say you currently live there? That's your residence?
Pardon?
Excuse me?
Hello?
Yes. And I'm just asking if you currently live there.
I intend to. I'm in the process of, yes.
No, the chair is asking if you're currently occupying the warehouse as a residence, and have you been doing that since 2015 was our initial question.
Yes, I have. Off and on. I have a home in Ohio that I am in the process of selling to move there full time.
And then build a residence on the empty land and use the warehouse to facilitate the reselling of firearms online. This might be a very off-the-wall question, but will that be able to be licensed by the ATF or whoever's issuing you your FFL so close to a school?
Yes, it's legal.
Okay.
Any other comments from the commission?
Well, it just, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
It just seems to me that it would be easier to to make a business there rather than to change the zoning.
Originally, right, but now he wants to build a house, is I think why he's wanting to change the zoning. If he was just going to bring the warehouse up to code for commercial use, that'd be one thing, but he sounds like his intent, his long-term intent is to build a home and live there and also use it as his business.
Correct.
Well, there is the concern of the school being so close. However, most,
Well, there is no, I mean, it's.
I don't know.
Got a question for staff, Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
For staff, is this any type of a precedence, or have you seen this in other areas where you have commercial with a residential home on the property?
Chairman, Commissioner, not that anything I've seen recently, but I know that there have been, the opposite has been true where people have tried to rezone to commercial surrounded by residential areas. I don't know of any specifics of this current situation.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, we do have several properties throughout the county that have a single-family residential unit on a commercial property because it is allowed in our commercial zones. And some of them are exactly like what you see before you. It's they build a metal structure, they put an apartment in there, but they don't have to conform to commercial standards as far as handicap accessibility, parking, stormwater retention necessarily because it's a residential use. If the applicant wanted to run a commercial business from this property, he would have to conform to those commercial standards in order to do so. The handicap accessibility, parking, restrooms, stormwater retention would all have to apply for this property.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have
Yes.
a clarification for staff. The zoning across the street is residential manufacturing, RM. And I understand that that is to allow multiple family residences, single-family residential uses, and professional offices on an urban parcel. If this gentleman is basically going to be running a online office and wanting to build a residential home on that lot, would it have not been better to rezone it as RM? Or is that something that would be feasible, or?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Alexander, the RM zone is our multifamily residential zone. So it's more meant for duplexes or your multifamily type units. But all of our residential zones allow for, most all of our residential zones allow for a home occupation. And there's certain requirements with a home occupation. You can't have too much traffic that it would take away from your residential use. There's requirements on signage and other things. You also have to renew your permit with us annually for the home occupation. But the zoning that we're proposing best fits the lot size and the proposed use. We weren't proposing multiple dwellings on site, just the single-family residence as well as the home occupation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have one observation to point out. There is a public sewer along the east side of the property line there. It was noted that it was no sewer available, I believe.
I have tribal sewer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not on septic. I have county sewer.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
Oh, that's a tough one.
I'm sorry, I have one more question for staff. and this is in no reflection to the applicant, but hypothetically speaking, if we were to do the rezoning and for some odd reason he was violating the work from home and not selling guns and started having traffic there, or you know, a different type of use, what is the ability for the county to go back and require commercial zoning?
So, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hassett, at that point, we would start the violation process. We'd send him a notice of violation, and he would, we would require him to either make it so that that he's in compliance with the home occupation zoning ordinance, or that he would have to rezone to a commercial, back to a commercial, and comply with the commercial development standards.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Call for motion? Dies for the lack of a motion.
Well, I mean, it's a tough one. Right across the street on the, east side is a different type of zoning. I mean, there is residential right there.
Chairman Morse, if I may, I understand, I definitely empathize with the commission on this one. It's a little bit out of the ordinary. If I can give just a little bit of background on it. So the property, as you know, is currently zoned C2. The applicant is wishing to do basically online sales, whether it be guns, whether it be whatever, basically looking to do online sales from his home. In order to basically establish a business in a C2 zone, he's got to do on-site improvements. He'd have to submit a site plan. He'd have to, as was explained, he'd have to put in parking, all of those types of things. With a home occupation, those things are not required. Now, staff's support of this item being rezoned to residential comes from the general plan. The general plan shows this as a residential area. So because it is already in the general plan as a residential area, staff felt that, you know, that we could support this rezone to a residential area, or to a residential zone. The other reason, because we have the residential zones across the street there, it's not a stretch to have, you know, we're nearby. So I don't know if that complicates or if that helps explain kind of the motivation both by the applicant in proposing this rezone and then staff support of the rezone as well. But
it helps me to better understand it. My only issue is if he sells it, what happens down the line, but who knows? I mean, we can deal with that when that happens. I make a motion to approve the rezoning from commercial to residential.
I'll second that
Second
motion.
motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed. Motion carries. Item number 5. Mr. Gunderson.
Item number 5 is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of assessor's parcel number 354-26001A from an AR-10A agricultural residential 10-acre minimum lot size zone to an AR-5A agricultural residential 5-acre minimum lot size zone to allow for a minor land division in the Cedar Hills vicinity. Staff has received 3 letters of opposition for this item. Staff recommends approval with standard conditions.
Has left the conference.
Thank you. We'll open the public hearing. We do have 2 people signed up to discuss it. Sean Mesmer, would you come forward, state your name and address, please?
Sean Meisner, 10375 East Wind-Up Trail. I live south of Dubois and west of Reese, which is where this is taking place. But I am a few properties over. Rezoning this area is not, I totally am against it. 10 acres is enough. Going to 5 is too close to each other. Once this starts, it won't stop. This Mark, where's he at? believe he owns property across the highway, across 40. Is that correct?
No, on your side.
You own property on the other side too?
No.
All right, well, it's not what I heard, but I have a letter from his next door neighbors. They could not attend. Is it okay if I read the letter?
Briefly, yes.
Okay. It says, to whom this may concern, I, Tom and Tammy, do not like the idea of Mark Valentine at 10474 East Dubois Drive in Kingman, Arizona 86401. He is here to get permission from you to split up his land in 5-acre parcels, and we are very much against it. It would be infringement of our privileges because he would be building another home exactly next to their property. This would be the start of splitting up all of our properties. We could go from, if he does it, then there could be other people that do it. When you go from his 10 acres to 5 acres, it could go from 20 acres to 5 acres. Then you have 4 neighbors. Well, you got people with 40 acres. They could split it down to 5 acres too. That would be, what, 8 neighbors, right? Well, we live out in the county, and I don't want neighbors. We definitely don't want neighbors, and I know my neighbors don't want neighbors. Because we like our freedom out there. So I've seen him, I've seen Mark. I met him once when I was fixing the road. I'm a veteran. I take care of my community out there in Cedar Mesa. I've lived here a year, and I like my community. Like I said, I was fixing the road. The road is right directly in front of Mark's property. The road's been messed up for a long time, the whole entire time I've lived here. And he hasn't fixed the road, so I fixed it. Took the time with a shovel, dug the dirt, and fixed the road. He could have done this. He lived there 3 years, that's what he told me. Because he drove by, he thanked me. He did thank me.
Thank you. If you could wrap up.
Okay. I 100% oppose it. And there's no reason for us to split this to 5 acres. Tom and Tammy spoke. They signed. I'll turn this in as well. I speak on my brother's behalf, James Panchenko, as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Ken Lyman.
Morning. My name's Ken Lyman. I live at 1628 South Reese Road. I've lived there since 2015. I think splitting this property sets a very bad example or precedence for the rest of the area. We have, next to William here is Mark and another investment property owner who has 15 acres. If this goes through, then he can split his property up into 5-acre parcels. And now we have more crowd on a road that's only at best 16 feet to 20. And that depends on what side of the road you drive on. I moved out there expecting that. I'm not like a California person that moved out there to immediately want the roads paved. So I'm fine with the way the roads are. The bumpier, the better. But anyway, we're surrounded by undeveloped land. We've got a 40-acre parcel that's got one home on it. That guy could definitely split that up into 5-acre parcels. So I'm against it.
Thank you. Is the applicant here? Would you like to address the commission?
Hello, I'm Mark Valentine. I've lived in Cedar Hills for 18 years. I was a realtor there for 10 years.
Can you please state your address, please?
Pardon me?
Please state your address, please. Your address.
My address?
Where you live?
Oh, 10474 East Dubois Drive. And I've been there for 18 years. I was a realtor for 10 years, and there's 5-acre parcels everywhere out there. And there's, in fact, the people who are opposing, there's 5-acre parcels right next to them, adjacent to their properties. And 8-acre parcels. And, you know, I understand their concern, but I think 5 acres that we allowed it so many times before for decades that, you know, there's plenty of room and space, and, you know, I understand the concern. It's going to be overcrowding and population, but what they realized they should have did their due diligence, you know, before to find out, you know, what the real minimums are and all the 5-acre parcels out there. And all I want to do is split it and build a little house on it, at least something for my kids, the last opportunity in this economy that's good right now. And I'd like to see it go through.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Wait.
Just a minute. No, not. Sorry.
Oh, I have a question for the applicant.
Okay.
So first off, thank you very much for your service. I appreciate that. My question is you made a comment that you want to leave something for your kids and,
Yes.
and a legacy to leave behind for them. Why would you need to split the parcels to do that?
Well, I
Why
have
would you need to, why would you need to divide it up in order to leave them something?
well, the other one's super close to the freeway right there, and a FedEx truck 2 summers ago came off the freeway, hit my parcel, and that's why they made clean up the diesel fuel. That's why they messed up the road.
Right.
And I was thinking another 90 feet, you know, and it could have hit my house.
Right.
So that's why I want to be back farther on the 11 acres and split it from east to west so I could, you know, build back there farther.
But if you're going to pass away anyways and leave your existing home and the land to your children, what would it matter how many parcels
Well,
there
what
are?
it matters is, you know, I had a lost decade, you know, with the economy out there, and I stuck through it, and my kids are grown. And I just, you know, wanted to catch up and make up for that 10 years of losses, you know, because it was really tough, you know. And so I have the house I built right now up front, and that will catch me up, and then, you know, providing for my family for the future to leave them something on the second house.
So your intent is to sell the first house?
Yeah, eventually sell that one and then build in the back. 5
Okay,
acres.
so it's not really, you're not doing it in an effort to fully leave the 10 acres as a legacy to your family. You want to sell it, make money on the first one to build something on the back, to move to the back, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Thank you. I have a question to staff. What is the mix of parcel sizes out there? The information on our backup is a little bit sparse on that.
Chairman Morse, so there are several 5-acre parcels in the area. None of them have a 5-acre minimum lot size zoning. The area was rezoned to that 10-acre minimum lot size back in 1982. And so there's a handful of parcels that were split after that zoning was put into place. So we would consider those non-compliant parcels. We wouldn't issue any kind of permits for them until they rezoned them. But there are also several parcels that are 5 acres that were split prior to that zoning minimum lot size being put into place back in 1982. So those ones are 5-acre parcels that we would issue permits for. They would be legal non-conforming parcels. And then a little bit to the south of the property, just south of Happy Trails Road, there are 2 parcels that were rezoned to an 8-acre minimum lot size back in 2004.
Thank you. Well, to anybody else would like to speak on it? Yes, sir. Would you please come up and state your name and address?
My name is William Arredondo. I live on 1695 South Reese Road. I live directly right behind him. Girlfriend and I bought our place in January, sold our house here in town. We wanted property. We got 11 acres. The neighbors and I have also talked. We agree that 10 acres is a minimum. We think it's perfect. It gives us our space, gives our neighbors their space, allows our neighbors to do what they want to do with their property, allows us to do what we want to do with our property. Where he wants to put his second house is going to be bumped up right against my fence on the north side. So I'm definitely against this. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to close the public hearing. Are there any comments by the commission?
Mr. Chair, I think the applicant has,
Oh, pardon me?
they were,
I will reopen the public hearing. Come forward, please.
Yeah, I just want to educate them on the setbacks. It doesn't matter if you have a 5, 10, 20, 40-acre parcel, you got a 25-foot side setback. So if you have a 40-acre parcel, they can still build 25 feet away from your place, 3 stories tall. So, all I'm proposing is a little, 900 square foot, 1-story, central the 5-acre parcel. So,
Okay, thank you.
bigger parcel doesn't make a difference of overcrowding. You're going to be, 25-foot setback on a 40-acre or a 5-acre. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for the applicant. What is your opinion of the road condition you have out there for?
It's terrible. It's the worst road I've ever been on. It gets 4 to 6 inches of mud in the winter, and after the snow melts and rain in the monsoon season, it's dangerous even at 4-wheel drive. And there's a lot of ditches, and I think the improvements will bring more taxes to the area, and maybe we'll get some grading out there.
I agree exactly what you said. And adding more parcels creates more places for people to build, to drive over a road that you can't get over now. That's a very rural area there. And I'm concerned what the county does or what anybody does to keep allowing these splits and do nothing to improve the road conditions for people.
Yeah, I understand that.
Those things give me a real problem.
Okay, at Roy Road's where the county grading stops. Now, if we get more people over there, we can get the tax money and revenue to pay for the road grading and go all the way to Reese Road or beyond. And that would be, better for the whole community.
I've lived here a long time. I don't see those kind of things happen very often.
I have seen it. I lived on McCarroll. They paved that 1.5 miles. They paved 6 miles on the north side.
I think you described the road very well. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to reclose the public hearing. We've heard from this. Any other comments from the commission?
Chairman, I believe that there must have been a reason why in 1982 they made the lots, the minimum 10 acres. And I don't know what that reason was, but you're saying that it's a very rural area. So I think that the people who bought there bought with the intention of keeping their 10 acres. Maybe some have bought with the intention of making money on it, but in my opinion, I would not vote for this.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I have a question. Could staff address that comment in the sense when that was zoned for 10 acres minimum, what does the general plan say, and do you have any information as to why 10 acres, not 1 acre or 2 acres? I have my thoughts. I know the area pretty well.
Chairman, Commissioner Abbott, I can't speak to why they rezoned it to 10 acres back in 1982. I can say that the general plan does designate this area as a rural development area, but our general plan also indicates that a rural development area are parcel sizes that are 5 acres or larger. So the split to the 5-acre minimum lot size, we didn't have the associated general plan amendment because this rezone would still comply with the Mojave County general plan.
Thank you. Lynn?
Yes, I have a question for staff. You were saying that there are 5-acre parcels in that area. Are those across the highway? The map here isn't extensive enough to show where those 5 acres might be and how far it is from this.
Yeah, I apologize I didn't get this in your packet. This is something that I did yesterday afternoon. So this is a map of the parcels in the area. So these 2 yellow parcels here are the parcels that were rezoned. Are the parcels that were Yeah, rezoned back to that 8-acre minimum lot size. And then we have the orange parcels that are non-compliant parcels. So these were split after the zoning was put in place. So the orange parcels are the parcels that we would not issue permits for until they were rezoned. And then the purple parcels are all 5-acre parcels that were split before that zoning was put into place. So they were 5 acres prior to that zoning, and so we would still issue permits on all of those purple parcels.
Those are very strangely shaped parcels. I mean, what can you do with those long parcels? They look like they would be a commercial application or something. How can you build a house and have a 25-foot setback? And
Going up.
I just asking, I mean, I don't know if you can make a comment to that or not, but that is rather odd.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question of this gentleman. Looking at your map, it appears that some of these splits that were done illegally are 8 parcels. So what size are those splits?
These are all of the ones that are highlighted up here. These are all 5-acre parcels. This one right here is a 5-acre parcel. This one is, I believe, just over 8 acres. And then these two down here are also just over 8 acres.
If you drop down, you have another one there too that you didn't mark. But my point is, if they took their parcel and divided it into 8, they split it 8 ways, is that correct?
I don't know how many parcels they split at a time for those. They may have done it just a couple at a time.
It shows a large parcel divided 4 on this side, 4 on that side, that's 8. That falls under the subdivision rules.
If you were to do that, if you were to take one parcel like that today and split it like that, that is correct. That would need to go through the subdivision process. But if this could have been platted this way originally, I don't know, or if they split it off over time, split off of a couple acres at a time, that's something that's been done in the past as well.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, so just to summarize this in an effort for a timely meeting, the purple was done before the big land split for 10-acre minimum. There's nothing you can do about that. The red ones they're going to have to be rezoned if anyone wants to do anything. So 5 acres is worthless, so that's really irrelevant at this point, right? So as it sits right now, it's a 10-acre minimum. There has been no splits into the 5 that were done in compliance. I, for one, make a motion to oppose. I'm for maintaining the 10 acres.
Second.
We have a motion to oppose and a second. Okay, all
I'd
in
like to
favor?
comment on that.
We have a motion on the table.
Pardon?
We have a motion and a second on the table.
Can't comment?
Yeah, you can do discussion.
Yeah, we can have discussion on it, yes. Yeah, on the motion,
There's a motion and a second.
yes.
And can you take comments?
Yes.
There we go. As far as procedurally goes, I would ask that that Commissioner Hassett clarify his motion to be a motion to deny rather than a motion to oppose. And as far as commentary, typically under the Robert's rules, commentary from the board members is still permissible after a motion has been made.
Yes.
My apologies, I'm still the new guy here. So before I state my motion, go ahead.
Well, what I'm going to say is not going to affect anything. This is Mojave County. These kind of things keep happening. The person could have 40 acres there, he could split it a certain way, and then they'd have another owner, and they could split it again, and this just creates problems that we've got here. I don't approve of this from the standpoint of what it creates for more people moving in, and they move in. A lady said to me the other day, I can sell land out there to a dog. That's how fast this land is selling out in that area and other areas. So it's a sad situation we're in here. I can't see where we can reject this per staff recommendation, but I don't approve of it.
John, would you restate your motion, please?
I make a motion to deny the split to 5-acre parcels.
And I second.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Yes, Chairman, I have a question, I guess, of staff. A little bit earlier, it was talked about that it's a rural area, and then there was a definition of rural being a minimum of 5 acres, versus what we have now. Seems like that causes some of the confusion as to help us lay this out as to being fair to the owners, being able to split down to whatever the Mojave County says can be split, versus the situation that we have now where they're 10-acre lots. I guess it's just a comment in that
Thank you.
It just causes confusion, and would like to.
And we do need to be conscious of how it affects the area too, not just what the rules allow, but
Mr. Chairman?
Chairman Morris.
I would like to just reiterate that in 1982, they decided that 10-acre minimum should be the minimum for this area, and I believe that they had to have a very good reason to do that, and I think we should think about that.
Mr. Welsh.
Chairman Morris, if I may address Commissioner Jackson's comment, just to help clarify a bit, the general plan designates this as rural, correct? So it's designated as rural. Now, the general plan for rural designation allows you to zone down to 5-acre minimum. It doesn't mean that it allows the zoning to allow for a 5-acre minimum zoning. Now, the zoning in place out here is a 10-acre minimum zone currently. So the general plan allows, if the commission so desires, allow for that rezone to go down to 5-acre minimums. But currently, it's a 10-acre minimum there, to Commissioner Gillette's point. Yes. I don't know if that clarifies.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries to deny. Item number 6A, Mr. Kelly.
Item number 6A is an evaluation of a request for an amendment to the Mojave County General Plan from an SDA, Suburban Development Area, land use designation to a GC, General Commercial Land Use Designation, and an amendment to the Mardian Ranch Area Plan from a Public Facilities Land Use Designation to a Retail Land Use Designation for Assessor's Parcel Number 336-01043 in the Mardian Ranch vicinity. Staff recommends approval with standard conditions. An additional note is the applicant is no longer requesting a billboard, so any reference to an off-premises sign or a billboard in your agenda should be disregarded.
Thank you. We'll open the public hearing. I have no slips. Is there anybody that would like to address the public and commission? Is the applicant available? Kathy, would you like to address the commission?
Good morning, Honorable Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Kathy Tackett Hicks. I'm acting as the owner's agent. I'm very familiar with this parcel. I did, along with the Mardian Ranch team, write the Mardian Ranch Area Plan document. It did show commercial in the public facilities on this corner right here, but that area has drastically changed now with agriculture and everything else. I had previously submitted, just so you know, on this parcel, which does front all along Pierce Ferry, a site plan for like a motel with tiny home uses. There's an existing C2 property zoning designation on this. The C2H allows us to utilize a recreational vehicle use for the tiny home designation. So it meets that purpose as well. Staff is correct. We're no longer requesting the billboard use. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions of the applicant? All right, thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
We'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve for a staff recommendation.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item 6B.
Item 6B is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of assessor's parcel number 336-01043 from a C2 1A general commercial 1 acre minimum lot size zone to a C2H highway commercial zone to allow for a convenience store, gas station, motel, and future retail and commercial development in the Marty and Ranch vicinity. Staff recommends approval with standard conditions.
Thank you. We'll open the public hearing. Would the applicant like to speak again? Okay, I have no other slips. We'll close the public hearing. Any comments from the commission? May I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve per staff recommendation.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7A.
Item number 7A is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of assessor's parcel numbers 317-49061 and 317-49078 from an A general zone to a C2H highway commercial zone to allow for a commercial office building and a billboard in the White Hills vicinity. Staff recommends approval with standard conditions.
Thank you. We'll open the public hearing. I have no slips on it. Is the applicant available? Would you like to address the commission? I don't know why you sit so far away, Kathy.
Good morning, Honorable Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Kathy Tackett Hicks. I'm acting as the owner's agent. And I just wanted to clarify a couple of items on this. One, this was actually two parcels. That one triangular piece on the west side butting up to the highway was an A zoning that was non-compliant because it wasn't the 5 acres. So we applied to combine those lots so that they would both have the C2H zoning. And when I initially submitted this, I showed that small retail building kind of in the middle of the parcel. And as a result of floodplains on the east side and everything, I have moved that over. I have already made a submittal for the commercial site plan, but most of the initial development occurs actually on that small triangle piece. So it does work, it fits, it meets requirements. If you have any questions, I just wanted to clarify what I had submitted and what I've been doing in the interim.
I have a question for Kathy.
Yeah.
I was trying to find this parcel with the information I had. I didn't come up with what I was looking for. How close is it in relative to Rosie's?
So this is at the corner of White Hills, and Rosie's is like northwest of this site, just up 93, 400 or 500 feet maybe, as Rosie's across the street, which did just open again. It looks awesome.
I like the way that area is growing out there.
There's a lot going on, and I'm working on several projects in that area. It's finally going to take off.
One builder is building homes out there. It's good to see.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Thank you.
Any other questions of the applicant? Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll close the public hearing. Any comments from the commission? Seeing none, may I have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve with staff recommendations.
Second motion.
We have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7B.
Item number 7B is an evaluation of a request for a special use permit for assessor's parcel numbers 317-49061 and 317-49078 to allow for a billboard in a C2H highway commercial zone in the White Hills vicinity. Staff recommends approval with standard conditions.
Thank you. We'll open the public hearing. Ms. Hicks, would you like to readdress? Thank you. No other speakers on this item. We'll close the public hearing. Any comments from the commission?
Yes, I'd like to make a comment. I appreciated the map indicating the billboard location. That was very helpful.
Thank you. May I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 8A.
Mr. Chair, this item 8A and 8B has been postponed to the May meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. All right. Item number 9, special use permit.
Item number 9 is an evaluation of a request for a special use permit for assessor's parcel number 317-49101 to allow for a billboard in a C2H 5A highway commercial 5-acre minimum lot size zone in the White Hills vicinity. Staff recommends approval with standard conditions.
Thank you. We'll open the public hearing. I have no slips on it. Would the applicant like to address the commission? Thank you. We're going to close the public hearing. Any comments by the commissioners? Seeing none, may I have a motion?
Make a motion for approval per staff recommendation.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion in multiple seconds. May I have a call for the vote, please? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 10.
Chairman Morris, Commissioners, my name is Gilbert Smaby. I'm the Chief Building Official for Mojave County. I don't have my name tag with me. I forgot that. Today we're here on item 10 to discuss possible adoption of the 2018 building codes. Just to give you a little background, on November 16th, 2020, the Board of Supervisors directed the Building Division staff to begin the process for review and adoption of the 2018 International Building Codes. The process included public hearings, or public meetings, to be held in the Beaver Dam, Colorado City, City of Kingman, Lake Havasu City, and Bullhead City areas. The recommendations from the Building Code Advisory Board and the Planning and Zoning Commission will then be presented to the Board of Supervisors for their review. You're probably asking yourself, why is the Planning and Zoning Commission hearing possible adoption of building codes? Basically, in Arizona statute, the building department regulations and codes fall under the jurisdiction of the zoning department. So that's why we have to bring our stuff to the planning and zoning and then to the Board of Supervisors. Just to let you know, possibly you're not aware that we do have a building code advisory board. This is a board of currently 7 members that answer to the chief building official in regards to appeals cases, interpretations of the code, and modifications of the code. So basically, by Arizona statute, on this committee or on this board is a licensed architect, a professional engineer, a general contractor, a person representing the public, a person engaged in electrical, mechanical, or the plumbing trades, and 2 extras that the state allows. Those members would have to be one engaged in the construction industry and the other in the design industry. So we do currently have 7 members on our board that have, basically I'll go back into it a little bit more. Just a little bit background on the codes. We're currently under the 2012 International Building Codes. We adopted, the Board of Supervisors adopted that in 2015. Typically, the code cycles for the ICC codes are a 3-year cycle, so every 3 years, typically a new code comes out. A lot of the jurisdictions found it difficult to adopt the most current code every 3 years, so typically we've skipped a code in between each. So in 2000, we were under the 2006 code. The 2009 code came out. In 2007 and 9, we had the building hardship and fall. So we did not adopt the 2009 code. We later adopted the 2012 code. That's what we're currently under. The 2015 code has been published. We did not adopt that. And now the 2018 code is out, and we're requesting to adopt that code. On a national level, model building safety codes establish the minimum requirements to safeguard the public health, safety, and general welfare through structural strength, means of egress, stability, sanitation, adequate light and ventilation, energy conservation, systems efficiencies, and most importantly, safety to life and property. On a local level, these model building safety codes can be amended to reflect regional requirements related to the county's geographical and climatic conditions without undermining the level of safety afforded to occupants and first responders. The 2018 International Building Codes provides a number of benefits to Mojave County and its citizens. Those benefits include, but are not limited to, the following. One is improved education, training, and certification for our plans examiners and our inspectors. Currently, the International Code Council no longer supports the 2012 code editions. Therefore, plans examiners and inspectors can no longer be trained or certified in the 2012 codes. Another benefit is conformance with the Arizona State Fire Marshal's Office and the Arizona Department of Housing have adopted the 2018 codes. Both agencies by adopting those codes, those agencies will require compliance with all fire jurisdictions within Arizona and all manufactured structures throughout the state. Being the same code will provide a more uniformity across jurisdictions. Another benefit would be to maintain or improve insurance evaluation ratings. Mojave County is currently at a building code effectiveness grading schedule, which they call a BSEGS rating. This is something that the Office of Insurance Services, ISO, basically has ratings in regards to the building department and their qualifications, their organization, and the services they provide. It also goes in and affects the National Flood Insurance Program and has a community rating system that is based on the BSEGS rating. The county currently holds a CRS rating, which is the flood insurance rating, of a 6, and this rating directly reflects flood insurance rates throughout the county. The adoption of the 2018 codes, Mojave County will have a better chance of maintaining these scores and in turn lower insurance rates for the citizens of the community. I wanted to go back on the BSEGS rating, which is the Building Effectiveness Grading Schedule. We're currently at a 3 in commercial and a 4 in residential construction. This was in part due to the adoption of the current 2012 codes. We've been told by the ISO raters that if we don't continue to go to the next current codes, those ratings will jump up to an 8, from a 3 and a 4 to an 8. So that will affect our rating and our effectiveness on grants and loans for the flood insurance program. From January 11th of 2020 from 2021 through January 17th, the building division held public meetings in Colorado City, Beaver Dam, Bullhead City, Lake Havasu City, and Kingman, City of Kingman. At the workshop meetings held on February 10th, the Building Code Advisory Board received comments which were compiled from the public meetings. Building division staff addressed significant changes at those meetings and from the 2012 code to the 2018 building codes and presented proposed amendments to the board. The Code Advisory Board heard comments from the public and directed staff to make changes to the draft ordinance and present the final draft ordinance to the board at the meeting scheduled for, was on March 3rd of this year. On March 3rd, the board reviewed and approved the revised draft ordinance with the recommended amendment changes. In your packets, there are all the background handouts, public comments, and information from the past public and Building Code Advisory Board meetings for your review and consideration. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommendations, along with the recommendations of the Building Code Advisory Board, will then be presented to the Board of Supervisors for their consideration. I apologize. Your packet is really large. Most of it is our amendments. So we put in there everything from our public meetings when we started back in January to the current ordinance. I don't know if you have your ordinance, the current draft ordinance is on page 42 of your packet electronically. Again, the Code Advisory Board has already looked at the proposed amendments and made those corrections and recommendations. And with that, that concludes staff report. If you have any questions, feel free to answer them.
Thank you, Gilbert. We'll open the public hearing. Is there, Mehdi, would you like to address the commission?
Good morning, Chairman Morris, commissioners, and my good friend, Commissioner Abbott, my mentor.
Good to see you.
My name is Mehdi Azarmi. My address is 1896 Clear Lake Drive, Fort Mojave, Arizona. I'm here before you as the chairman of the Code Advisory Board that Gilbert stated earlier. I don't know how much the other commissioners are aware of this code that we are talking about. As a builder, we have to build a home under a certain code, and the code evolves based on the experiences that they gain, and they make modification. The International Residential Code or the building code is one size fits all. So for the whole United States, we have one code. So it would be the duty of each jurisdiction to be able to see which is compatible to the area. So let's say that the code that is available in New York City or the New York cannot be the same in Mojave County. So they have to make some certain modification to make sure that, it would be compatible to the need of the area. So having said that, Mojave County is the only jurisdiction that would allow end users and private professionals to participate at the other side of the table and negotiate or work out a compatible code for the Mojave County. Other jurisdictions, some blindly, they just adopt the code and just proceed, and when they run into issues, the building official makes the interpretation and causes a lot of problem. Those of you who are very much familiar with the state of California is a very good example of that. That is very difficult to build in California because of the over-regulations and, choking, builders, which translates to a higher cost for, I need to ask permission for extension.
Please.
So they would be able to pass that cost to the end users. Our area, Mojave County, is, as you know, demographically, we need to make sure that the homes and the buildings and everything would be within a reasonable budget, so they would be able to continue the flow of the more people coming to our area and the economy that we want to have in this area. So for that reason, when these codes are presented to the Mojave County building official and the director, they would involve a Code Advisory Board to go through the sessions and review these code, which, as you can see, is quite of a thick, information that you have here, to make sure that we would be able to find the sharp corners that is not needed in this area taken out. So it would be basically reasonable and still be safe and practical for Mojave County. We've done this back in 2006, 2012, which I've been involved, and now 2018. And I can tell you the 2018 took some of the issues that we had with the 2012 out. So the 2018 is much softer and easier to work with compared to the 2012. One of the complaints that, we had during these sessions was that, well, there may be some hidden issues that maybe it was not addressed or it might cause problem in the future. Well, if there is an issue, this is not going to be final. If there is an issue, they can go before the Code Advisory Board, before the Planning and Zoning, and goes before the Board of Supervisors. But we did our due diligence. We had our self-study at home. We double-checked everything, make sure that, to the best of our ability as the board members of the Code Advisory Board, see if there is any issues, which there are a lot of it, and those are the amendments that Gilbert has already explained to you. So what you have before you is a very complete 2018 code, which is already modified to be compatible to the community of Mojave County. I appreciate your time. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Please.
When you're ready to sell your home that's 25 or 30 years old, it's a common thing to have a home inspector come in. How does that home inspector tie in with these building codes that he's to go by?
In my opinion, so far that I've seen, they do not refer to any code that was built under. Basically, they have issues that they see in the plumbing, electrical, mechanical, or any defects that they see on that.
Because it is a problem depending on what home inspector you use.
It might be, Commissioner Abbott, but again, I think the home inspectors that are doing the resale, their inspection is to make sure that the house is livable and it is basically safe for those who want to move in, or the defects that an average uneducated buyer would not be able to detect. Like, if there is any faulty electrical, or if there is any air conditioning problem, or something that is not deviated, fixer uppers, during the 25 years that you said, a lot of changes happens, during that 25 years, and people fix things to their own liking, and maybe it's not really, up to par.
Well, I want to say you've done a great amount of work through the years on this, and I think it's helped the homeowners, the builders, safety, price, the contractors, and I think you're to be commended for all the effort you personally have put in on it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your comment.
As a home builder, and
thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask you a question. When the information was being read off, you mentioned ingress and egress. How is that addressed in your code?
In the code, basically refers to the tolerances that you have, not only on the egress and ingress. Basically, there are a lot of other tolerances that are acceptable based on the practices. Give you an example. Let's say that you have a commode. Well, it cannot be tight. It has to have certain measurements. Or, the amount of glazing for each room has to have a certain percentage of the square footage that the room is going to have. So same thing goes for, the, egress that you're talking about. So it is basically in compliance with, the code requirement, minimum code requirement.
As everybody here knows, I'm very interested in landlocked property, which we do have here in Mojave County, in not allowing that to happen again. is my main thing.
Landlocked?
Landlocked.
Okay, that has nothing to do with the building code advisory or the building code. That is the, Tim Walsh needs to take care of that, I believe, to be able to do that. So that goes into a different division under the land use ordinance, which, I believe every so often they do have the land use ordinance review. I was fortunate enough to participate in two or three of them already, and I think that's something to be addressed at that level.
Okay, so when you speak in your code of egress and ingress, you're not speaking of the ability to get to the property?
No, it is basically talking about the structure. We're talking about the building. It can be commercial or residential. It is past the point of the planning and zoning, in past to the subdivision or parcels that already been subdivided. It is the time that the applicant is applying for a structure through the building department to build a building, habitable or commercial.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Chairman Jack, if I could explain a little bit more. Yeah, the egress and egress is basically getting in and out of the building based on the type of occupancy it is. I'll just say this is an assembly occupancy. If you notice, we have a number of doors. Those doors are sized by the occupant load of the building. So when it's egress, it's really dealing with just the egress in and out of the building from the public, typically for commercial. And then residential has obviously a front door, back door. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mitty.
My pleasure. Thank you.
John?
Good morning, members of the commission. My name is John Caponetto, P.O. Box 8974, Fort Mojave, Arizona. I've been a resident of Mojave County for 34 years now. I was a general building contractor for 15 years, and I ceased doing general building work in '08 when the economy died. I haven't resumed construction, but now I'm here today to represent the Mojave Valley Contractors Association, of which I'm the secretary. We believe that the 2012 codes under which the county operates now are more than adequate for the safety and well-being of the general public. To my knowledge, nobody has died because the codes weren't good enough for protection of the general public for the 2012 codes. We are adamantly opposed to the I guess we're off here. I don't know. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
No. So we are adamantly opposed to adopting the 2018 codes. I believe all of you have a copy of the written opposition that we put together to the building division, why we're opposed to the codes and why we don't need them. We don't feel that there's really a substantial demonstrated need to go ahead and adopt the 2018 codes. I know a lot of work has been done for the 2018 codes in wanting them to be adopted, but we just don't see the need for it. If you take a copy of the 2012 code, a copy of the 2018 code, you stack them up next to each other, the 2018 code is about 20% thicker. And I know some of those items are going to be deleted out with amendments and such, but still, that's not a minor amount of code change that's being addressed here. It's considerable. We also don't know the economic impact of the code, what it's going to bring. And like I say, to my knowledge, I don't know anybody's died operating under the 2012 code. I think it's more than adequate.
You may continue.
In the response from the building division to our written proposal against it, I mean, excuse me a second here. One of the big items that the big push is for adopting the new codes is the fact with the insurance rates, okay? I think there's some misunderstanding about how this insurance rate schedule works, okay? The county's most recent evaluation, the building department is claiming is still under review from FEMA, of which they're saying that our score right now is 2084. if you have a score of 2,000 up to 2499, typically that range will grant you the CRS rating of 6 is for the insurance rates. And we are currently at a 6 now. Keep in mind that the way these codes, or the way the numbers come about, is the CRS, which is for adopting the building codes, is worth about 50 points. The BCEGS, okay, which right now we have a 3-4 rating, okay, a prerequisite for even trying to apply for the CRS rating of 6, you have to have at least a 5.5 or better, of which we do now. But keep in mind that the BCEGS is based on enforcement of the code, not the codes themselves or which version of the code you have, but that's for the enforcement. As a builder, I can attest that Mojave County has done a great job at enforcing the codes because I lived it and went through it day by day. And they never slacked off on that. So from an enforcement point of view, okay, I think they've held up their end. However, the enforcement section, as far as the code rating goes, that is only worth a maximum of 50 points, of which in the group that we are, the 3-4, that's only worth 30 points. That's all it's worth. Okay, in their response, they said, an example of 68 points were received for the BCEGS rating as part of the activity 43H. That's on another sheet. There's no way you could have gotten 68 points for a BCEGS rating. There's just no way. The maximum value for where we're at is 30 points. And as far as adopting the codes themselves, adopting the new codes is worth maximum 50 points. So if you didn't adopt the new codes, okay, you're going to lose 50 points. You still got 30 points from the BCEGS score. Okay, so for us to drop from a 2084 score down below 2,000, which was then knock us into the next lesser category of a CRS of 7, could happen, but I seriously doubt it, because the way they're tabulating it and the way their responses are, that's just not the way it's spelled out in the coordinator's manual. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. But the biggest crux for me to be here today is to say that we just don't see a substantial demonstrated need to go ahead and adopt the 2018 codes.
Thank you, John. One moment, please. We have a request by Richard to address the commission. Ambit.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Board. My name is Richard Hamilton. I'm a builder here in town. I'm also coach or vice chair to Mehdi on the advisory code board. Mehdi did a great job on his presentation. I just want to add a couple of things, if I may. We have asked in our meetings, we've done our due diligence. We've worked hard to see what these differences are. We've worked with the county well on this. In case you didn't know, I'm in favor for it. But we have asked many times, somebody please show us where this is going to be a cost increase to the public or to the county or to anybody for that matter. And we can't find that anywhere. Nobody has come up with that yet. We have, today alone, I've bid 4 metal buildings for people at a cheaper cost of approximately $15,000 total to these customers because of the 2018 code that we can go by rather than the 2012. So the 18 code gives more latitude for everybody to be able to build, to work together, and be cheaper. We have yet to find, and even myself as a builder, have yet to find where it's going to be more expensive to go to this code. All it does, if the book is thicker, I have them both in my office, I can't tell a difference. If the book is thicker, it's mainly just explaining or giving a better definition of what the codes are. So I just wanted to give my little 2 cents as a builder and as the vice chair of the Building Code Advisory Board.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the public that would like to speak? Kathy?
Good morning again, Kathy Tackett Hicks. I'm also a licensed residential small commercial contractor. But I want to bring up something that's a little bit different, so I know just enough to be dangerous. But the real problem with not approving these and going to the next step is that we have all of the other agencies are approving these. For example, on these manufactured housings that go to the state, I specifically told on behalf of my client, we must go by 2012 building code. It must be on the front page. It says 2018 because the state review agency that reviews it requires 2018. It drives me absolutely nuts that the code books are so big. They're very hard to deal with. They're everything. But we have got to stay, with the rest of the nation on these things. We're already 9 years behind, on the code, or I'm sorry, going 2012 is 2021. That the county takes the approach of adopting every other code, I think is really good. It allows the builders to, get in a groove on that initial code. I love the stronger energy requirements and stuff in this code, and I am a huge supporter of even requiring more energy standards, much to the chagrin of my other builder friends. But we have to come in compliance, and the one thing Gilbert said, I don't know if you missed it, but they have to be trained in staff. There is no more training for the 2012 code. I don't even know how we would be able to proceed if we didn't have the plan review techs being able to be trained for this code. So I don't really know if you have a big option, but already we're seeing the ill effects of not getting up to that code, and I would encourage you to approve this. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you. Questions? I'm going to close the public hearing and comments from the commission. Do we have any? I have one comment that in looking and diving into the Appendix G, which seems like it's been substantially expanded. How does that, and this is for Mr. Welsh, how does that, I saw conflicts with that in our floodplain ordinance. How are the two going to be resolved?
Chairman Morris, if I may, I will defer to our chief building official, who's a much better expert on the codes than I am.
Chairman Morris, we also have our floodplain manager available with us today, too. He was asking about that same question. Let me see if we've put it up for our adoption.
I'm sorry.
Give me just a second here. Oh. Some of the appendixes in the IBC we did not adopt. Let me make sure for when we are adopting that reference. Come on, computer.
I believe you are, my reading of it.
We are. Resistant. Oh, okay, I think that's the book. Let me grab the code book real quick, too.
Chairman, while he's grabbing that, is there a specific item that you had concerns about with that?
There were multiple items in there. One of them is the heavier reliance on ASCE 24, which basically you can't plant a tree without asking for a permit because you're disturbing the earth.
I don't vote for that.
And Mr. Chair Morris, I'm not too familiar with the code. A lot of it is your floodplain management.
You better get familiar with it. You're in charge of it.
Better be, yeah. Possibly I can have Paul. Yeah, if Paul can explain it a little bit better than I can.
Paul Hoffman, the Flood Control District Engineer. Chairman Morse, members of the Commission. By Appendix G, if I could clarify, are you talking about the floodproof materials section?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, the floodproof materials section is something we use when people choose not to elevate, or for instance in commercial sites where they're not required to elevate, if they use floodproof materials, or non-habitable structures can use the list of floodproof materials that FEMA provides. And if I understand the conflict, would that be with the materials list that FEMA provides versus the Appendix G? Is that what you're...
Well, a strict reading of Appendix G basically prohibits, their first goal was to prohibit any development in a floodplain. And they classified all the floodplains that we have around here, at least 95% of them, as special flood, okay? And all the applicable criteria below or above the base flood elevation is controlled or at least opined on by ASCE 24. What you can do and what you can't do. You cannot bring fill in and put a residential structure on or a structure on it in accordance with 24. Maybe I'm reading it wrong, but that's how I read it, and the Appendix G also speaks to that. We have a goal of trying to minimize flood damage. I appreciate that, and I practice that every day. But the other hand is, in my at least opinion as an engineer, a strict reading of G and ASCE 24 is going to make it almost impossible to put anything in any of our mapped flood zones.
As a floodplain district, we do require that homes and structures such as sheds that are large enough and commercial buildings are properly elevated, or if it's not a residential structure, that it is properly flood-proofed. By elevated, that can be done on fill, that can be done on stem walls. Manufactured homes are particularly a point of concern for us because of the requirements that the lowest structural member be a foot above the base flood elevation, as well as other structures need to be a foot above the base flood elevation. In essence, the way we're interpreting it is that if it's elevated above, be it on fill, stem walls, et cetera, it's essentially coming out of the floodplain. And if there's a concern with another regulation that regulates things that are in the floodplain, that can be addressed with the floodproof materials, either in Appendix G or the FEMA list that our code, our floodplain code and drainage design manual reference. And if there's a conflict between those materials lists, we would of course default as a flood control district to the FEMA list. But I'm pretty sure there's some overlap there as far as there's a long list in FEMA's stuff that allows lots of materials, and the Appendix G, well, I'm not as familiar with it as Gilbert probably will be soon. I'm sure there's some opportunities to comply with both.
Yeah, I just see there's conflicts between the two codes, if you would. And I see it to be a problem, a costly problem, if it maintains the way it is, the way it's, I mean, because number one, you've got the building official being primacy over everything in the building code, including flood control. And then you have the flood control district taking care of, which is a separate taxing district, if you would, taking care of the floodplain administration. So I don't know. And that's why I asked Mr. Welsh, because he's in charge of both of you.
Chairman Morris, if I can clarify a little bit, you're correct. In the 18 code, the building official did take over the flood control requirements under Appendix G. That's what we've been working hand in hand with flood now to say, and that's why I'm not too familiar with it. It wasn't in the last codes. If there is a conflict of something like that, we can look at amendments to that. We just can't be in conflict with our FEMA and our other standards that way. So we could always look at that and amend those out to meet our geographical conditions for the county, if that's needed.
Okay.
Chairman Morris, if I may, and I apologize, I think I understand better the question now. Basically, as Appendix G applies towards the floodplain ordinance and basically the flood control district, Paul is the flood control district engineer. Gilbert is the chief building official. Gilbert will oversee the building related items. As Paul mentioned, if a structure is to be located within a floodplain, there are certain elevation requirements. Basically, it's got to be raised above that floodplain and provide, state statute requires that additional foot above that as well. Those things basically, and that's the benefit of development services, is we have both the flood control district and the building district in the same building. We do work together. We do try and make it as seamless as possible for our applicants. Ultimately, when they come in for a building permit, we'll send them upstairs to see Paul first to determine what floodplain they're located in. Once we determine that they either are or are not in a floodplain, if they're not, then they continue down the permit road towards getting that building permit. If they are, then we work with them to say, okay, you're in this floodplain, you need to either raise it up this much, locate the building a little bit over towards the west or whatever direction to get it out of that floodplain. But ultimately, yeah, we work together to really help our builders, help any of our applicants that are looking to improve their property, and we find them that solution located both in our flood codes, but also in our building codes to get them where they need to be, and we'll continue to do that under this code.
So as I understand what you're saying, there's going to be really no substantial change in the operations and the administration.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had. Anybody else got any questions? Can I get a motion?
Make a motion that we recommend approval to the Board of Supervisors.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Item number 11. Mr. Walsh.
Chairman Morris, members of the commission, this was alluded to a little bit previously. Development Services and the Planning and Zoning Manager, Chris Ballard, and myself, we met with Assessor Jeannie Kench, I think it was about 2 to 3 weeks ago, to discuss some of the issues of landlocked properties and possible solutions on addressing that. As we had mentioned, I think previously, Arizona state law does allow for minor land divisions without coming through the county. Ultimately, a property owner can subdivide his property 5 times through a parcel plat, any of those things that does not require approval by the Development Services Division. Sometimes they can also even get more basic than that. They can sell off the west 100 feet of whatever parcel they might own. Those actions will sometimes lead to landlocked properties that don't have sufficient access. For that, as I mentioned, we met with the assessor to go over these concerns that we have. Arizona revised statutes, as I mentioned, does allow for large lot divisions, lots that are over 36 acres in size. So you're big, get a section, split it up into 40s. State law does allow for that, and land divisions of 5 lots or fewer. There are some possibilities to provide a little bit additional what's the right word? Some additional insight or oversight into access. The state statute allows for the board to require that any divisions be reviewed by Development Services. That wouldn't prohibit those divisions from occurring, but we would review it and comment on whether there was legal access or not to it. Those divisions could still occur. It would just be noted. Another issue that has come up and is currently going through through the state legislature is it's House Bill 2040. It's a striker, so it initially started as something else, and then they've struck it and added this proposed statute that basically allows for any seller to just disclose those deficiencies to the buyer, including lack of access, and prohibits the withholding of a building permit when those deficiencies exist. So currently, if somebody has those deficiencies, we could, at least on a zoning side, if they're not properly zoned, we can withhold a building permit. This new bill going through basically says that as long as the buyer tells them, hey, there's these deficiencies, as long as the seller tells them that there's these deficiencies, they're off the hook and they can sell it as is. So that complicates our picture a little bit more. So I don't know that I have a definitive answer for you as far as how to solve this issue, but I will let you know that we are continuing our discussions with the assessors to try and find a solution. And once we get there, I know speaking with Assessor Kinch, there is some desire on the assessor's part to propose additional ordinances within the county to help prevent that. So that's what I have at this time, and be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. It is my understanding that that bill is going to die. It's not going to make it.
Fingers crossed.
It also is my understanding that part of that bill is to allow the seller not to tell the buyer that there's no way to the back portion of the property or whatever the case may be. But I know that I'm working with both of our representatives, the senator and also our Congress representative, to stop that bill and to kill it, or at least to vote it down, because it's a great concern to me.
Very good.
But I do appreciate so much you getting together with our assessor. I'm thinking that perhaps you also should talk to the recorder, because isn't that where they go to get these small land divisions?
Ultimately, they record them at the assessor's office. I might have to lean on the legal on.
And I can speak a little to that. The state statute requires the recorder to record documents if they meet certain specifications. She doesn't get to look into them to see whether it would impact somebody else's property. As long as they're not fraudulent, you can record just about anything in Mojave County. The recorder is just required to record it. It's a problem with the statutes, and we run into issues here and there where fraudulent documents have been recorded, but they're not obviously fraudulent. And so on the back end, the county attorney's office has to come in and start fixing things here and there. But as far as the recorder's office goes, there's not a whole lot that she can do to prevent these things from happening. Those splits are going to be created when the documents are recorded.
Because I would think that if we could have a red flag or something like that on properties that are being subdivided without any easements to the back portions of the division, that would at least let us know that there's a possibility that landlocked property is being created.
I think that's a reasonable solution. I just don't know that there's a mechanism in the recorder's office to be able to create that. Generally speaking, because the law currently allows people to split their parcels, record those documents, and then sell the parcels, the recourse is for the new property owner to seek a prescriptive easement so that they can gain access to their parcel.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? We'll move on to item 13, election of officers, chair and vice chair. Listening for nominations.
Nominate Larry Morse.
Come on, somebody step up.
You want to do it again next year?
I'm really busy.
Rock, paper, scissors for it.
I'm willing to volunteer.
Pardon me?
I'm willing to volunteer if you don't want to do it.
Why nominate Roger then? Do I have a vice chair nomination?
I would do vice chair, because he's going to be here all the time.
He's pretty reliable.
Nominate Luana for vice chair.
I have a question. Did we get a no from Larry?
I'm really busy.
You sound like a no, though.
A little too busy. Then I want to nominate Roger Jack, if we have to nominate as chairman and Mariah as vice chairman. I think they'd make a good pair.
I agree.
I do too.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Commissioner comments. Do we have anything in general?
Pardon me, just one point of order here. I just wanted to make sure that, and maybe I missed it, but I didn't hear the second.
Well, we had a second. John seconded it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
That was my question. Thank you.
Yeah. Comments?
Nope. Thank you, staff, for everything.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. That's quite a session.
Call to the public. Do we have anybody in the public that would like to address the commission? Please come up and state your name and address.
I'm Kenny Works, Yucca, Arizona, 86438. I have concerns about easements and public access, and I've decided to contact the legislatures. I've contacted Leo's office and Luana, Regina's office as well. And I'm looking for legislation to start in the next legislative session in the area of easements and access. There's a mess going on right now along I-40 and Section 11. There's a diagonal line where the utilities came through. There's a utility easement. That was the only transportation. The only way in and out was along that easement. And most of these roads were never built. Some of them are built, some of them aren't. They're not even staked out. One property owner is denied access out the west end. So people can't get out the west end anymore without going across, making new roads, going on other people's property, trying to get over to the utility easement where it's trampled down pretty good and they can get over to the Franconia Road. and it's causing a lot of resentment in that area, this section and the next section over as well. And we're busting at the seams with commerce right now in Arizona, in the tri-states area, and we got to keep up with it. So I'm going to look for legislation in the areas that you were just talking about, landlocked properties and such. We got to keep up with it and stay ahead of it. We're not going to have a situation where you're going to split 5 times and not record any easements. The easements are going to be recorded after this legislation is complete, and everybody's going to have a fair access to the properties. No more 30 years of using access points and then have someone come along and deny it. That's stupid. We've got to keep up with the times and be a leader. Thank you very much.
Anybody else would like to address the? Thank you. Call for motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.